I am going to say that the Wolves and the Volturi have more or less declared war on each other by season 6. Leah, Jacob, and Sam are the leaders on the Wolf side, Aro, Caius, and Marcus on the Volturi side. Caius still has a crush on Leah because I can't be silent.
Okay, this is going to be quite a contortion. 1 second. I'm going to put a jacket on. Be right back. Why no, this look isn't especially well suited to the video at hand, but I was just trying something out, wasn't I? I'm trying to do the anime off the shoulder thing, because in anime they sometimes like have characters who don't wear their arms in their sleeves. Like they have sleeves on, but they stop! Their arms aren't through the sleeves, like Kaito Momota and such. Well, he has one arm through the sleeve. That was a bad example. So next up is Seth. Listen, is Seth my favorite character in the Twilight series? Yes. Did I make my own Seth t-shirt to attend the midnight premiere of Eclipse when I was a kid? You're darn tootin'. But that doesn't mean I can't approach the character impartially for the sake of this rewrite. Now I look like Dirk from Date Everything. I caved and I'm just gonna wear the jacket normally. In canon, Seth Clearwater is of course Leah Clearwater's little brother. Seth's first impression on pretty much everyone is that he's just really positive and cheerful and energetic and fun to be around, and probably his most significant character trait in the series overall is that he is the werewolf who is the most accepting of the Cullens. Like, he shows no signs of distrust or discomfort about being around the Cullens. He is just so positive towards them. And pretty much for that reason, Edward at some point in Breaking Dawn says he has the kindest mind of anyone I've ever read, or something like that. He's the purest soul. Basically, Edward thinks he's a cinnamon roll confirmed. That's fine. It very much fits into that trope of the minority who is nicest to white people specifically is the best minority. He's the best of them because he is the most accepting of white people and never ever holds anything against them for any reason. Bella breaks his arm and he's like, "No, it's fine, you were angry. At least you didn't kill me." Anyway, for the sake of this show, since he's Leah's little brother and Leah is one of our protagonists, we're of course going to start to see him from someone other than Bella's perspective. We're seeing him more and in more context than Bella did in the series. Theoretically, the fact that we're seeing him in more context means that we could see him in more complicated ways. That said, I do love the idea of Seth being this heart of gold, naive guy. That's going to be somewhat a result of Leah being very protective. The naivete of Seth, while being cute, is also going to be something of a character flaw. The same thing that makes him more willing than the other wolves are to trust the Cullens is also the thing that's going to make him a little bit gullible in times when he needs not to be gullible. Maybe we can have a thing happen where before he turns into a werewolf and joins the pack, Seth gets asked by some strange vampire for permission to enter the reservation. And yes, I liked Sinners, and yes, I know that Twilight vampires don't work like that. Leave me alone and listen, work with me. What I'm saying is we're gonna have a vampire character who isn't outright an enemy, like it's not Victoria, but this person is trying to avoid the Cullens and is using La Push to do that. They ask for Seth's permission to go onto the wolf pack's territory because they know the wolves won't have justification to retaliate against them if they're invited in by Seth, and also just kind of as a tacit hostage situation. So basically it's like, you can't kill me because this guy let me in after I spent like a calendar minute befriending him, and also because he's sitting right next to me, he's not a werewolf yet, and I could kill him. This could be something that Irina does. I mentioned that the wolf pack killed Laurent, and Irina was really mad about that, so we could add in a subplot where Irina tries to get revenge on the pack. The reason I'm suggesting that she be the one to pull this move is because apart from the Volturi, the Denalis are the only vampires I can think of who would reasonably know that the Cullens can't go on La Push Reservation. So this could be her going, "I have a message for those wolves who killed my Laurent, and I'm gonna deliver my message without Carlisle's interference." I'm not firm on that being the scenario, but the way I see it playing out is Seth lets her in, the pack, including Leah, hurry over to drive her out and get her away from Seth. She delivers some kind of threatening message instead of killing them for some reason. Hi, it's me, the editing elf. I also don't know why I just implied that that lone vampire could kill all or indeed any of those wolves, given that vampires in the series have a zero wolf kill track record. But we agree the thing I said was funny anyway, right? And then Seth phases for the first time because she's a vampire, she's right next to him, and Irina gets away in the confusion. Bonus points if Irina was genuinely endeared by Seth before he became a wolf and hates him afterward. Anyway, that's just an example of the kind of situation that Seth might get himself into. I'm gonna also say that Seth was really close to his dad. Like, so close. Whenever Harry Clearwater had a health scare, Seth wanted to sit at the hospital with him instead of going to school. school. Maybe his mom insisted on sending him to school, so she'd be like, Leah, drive your brother to school, I'll sit with your dad. But per Twilight canon, Seth is still very plucky and positive and social after Harry's death in season 2. It's a Kel from Amori situation. Because he acts so positive, the audience gets to just imagine how sad he is, and speculatively pick and choose which bad coping mechanisms he has instead of seeing them. Tell me in the comments which bad coping mechanisms you want Seth Clearwater to have. I'm not gonna lie, the primary narrative function of Seth is just to be loved and protected. Just like me! He is Austin from Ginny and Georgia. He is... Other example. Oh, Prim from the Hunger Games. He's Prim from the Hunger Games. In fact, let's say that Seth wants to be a doctor. Why not? That'll create an interesting vibe between him and Carlisle. I think the most overt way that his grief for his father is going to manifest is in the discomfort that he's going to start to feel towards Charlie. Not, to be clear, with his mom dating Charlie. He's glad his mom is happy. To be honest, I just kind of don't love the trope of son doesn't want his widowed mother to date again. Because while it's understandable as a human emotion, in text it often reads to me just like the next man in her life feels an inherited need to police her body. I'm not biting my thumb at Hamlet. I'm just saying that as a character trope, I don't find it endearing. And no offense, but endearing me is Seth's whole job. I used that shirt once in 2010, and now I've used it twice in 2025. So yeah, Seth is glad his mom is dating Charlie because he makes her happy. But he's uncomfortable with interacting with Charlie because he doesn't want to feel like he's slotted into the son role there. He's honestly way more comfortable with Carlisle and the Cullens than he is with Charlie. He's nice to Charlie, but his overall demeanor towards him is going to be kind of season 1 Bella. Season 3 Seth is like season 1 Bella with regards to how they act towards Charlie. If and when Leah does get kidnapped by the Volturi, that's Seth's opportunity to be super duper worried about her. Maybe a good amount of acting like Jacob and Sam betrayed his trust by not saving her. So now we're getting a dash of Nico D'Angelo in our Kel from Amori and Austin from Ginny and Georgia. I'm making the Izuru Kamakura of little brother characters. I'm not sorry for any of this. At present, I don't think I'm giving him a love interest, but if I do, it'll be described in the OC section. Anyway, I think that's it for Seth. Now for Sam. Most of the pertinent canon stuff about Sam are his relationship with Leah that I've already kind of covered, although fun thing to bring up, the wiki doesn't say that they were engaged, and I don't know whether that was like some minor detail that I saw in the illustrated guide or one of the supplemental materials or something Stephanie Meyer said after the fact, or if it's just fanon that I've adopted just kind of in my heart, but it's gonna be the case in the show. But yeah, his relationship with Leah, the fact that he was the first wolf in the generation. There were no active werewolves when Sam phased for the first time. For that reason, he became the alpha of the pack, which, by the way, I assume that most people know this, but that's a pseudoscience thing. Wolves don't actually have alphas. That's not a real thing. The guy who said that didn't do a good wolf study, and he admitted as much. Later in his life, the guy was like, yo, that was bad wolf science that I did. But anyway, yeah, Sam's the alpha of the pack because he was the first one. As a leader, he's pretty strict. He uses the alpha command pretty liberally. Like, he has no moral compunctions about using the alpha command, which I think most people would. Is that optimistic to say most people would have compunctions about having the ability to say something and have someone do it without any, like, choice? I like to think most people, if they got that power, would be like, oh, yo, I should use that sparingly, right? That shouldn't be something I do too much of. Is there anything else about him? He was super ready to murder that baby. Is that anything? I mean, Jacob was also super ready to murder that baby, so I think that. And also, I mean, not to bring this up, but the fact that the vampires were making immortal children for a while means that they had to have killed a lot of babies to get there, because they're not good at making other vampires. They often kill the person they're trying to turn into a vampire. It must have, like, there was some collateral damage in there. Maybe I'll cut that part out. Maybe that's too much of a bummer, but anyway, let's just have it understood that Stephanie Meyer did not create a world of fiction that was super baby safe. A lot of her characters would kill a baby. Honestly, doesn't take that much provocation. For me, Sam really hits that. I don't know if it's pervasive enough to call it an archetype, but the character type of guy who says he'd kill for you and die for you, but won't do the dishes. What is meant by this outside of the context of this show is usually something along the lines of, okay, so you've made up a scenario that probably will never happen, and you've cast yourself as the hero in this scenario, so conveniently you get to avoid scrutiny for the ways that you aren't doing your part in the situations that occur in everyday life. What I mean by by it is more that he's all about sweeping gestures more so than everyday decency. Sam is a generally nice guy, but he's bad at being there for people. He would much rather die for someone or kill for someone than have a hard conversation about how he hurt their feelings. He refuses to be emotionally compromised. No, hair, stop. I'm doing this for angst reasons. Sam and Leah were a happy couple, but Sam was not someone who Leah could go to for emotional support. They made each other laugh, they consulted each other for intellectual matters, they really loved to be together, and they worked well together, and they would have been a good couple. But the main foible is that Sam is not someone who can meaningfully help when she's feeling bad. Maybe in season 1 we get a scene where Leah is stressed out about a school thing, like maybe she's overwhelmed by all the scholarship stuff she has to do, if indeed that's a problem I give her. I moved the doll. Don't worry, the doll didn't move on her own. Unless she did. And she's kind of ranting about it, just kind of venting about it, and while she vents about it, Sam is washing the dishes, and intermittently he's going, wow, and yup. At some point in the conversation, she verbally acknowledges that she understands he's just being a listening ear and not really contributing to the conversation, and she appreciates that, basically making it clear to the audience that this is a comfortable status quo for them. The energy is very, Leah's tough, she can handle the problem herself, she just wants to know that someone is physically present with her while she handles it. This is just a lighthearted setup though, because a little later in season 1, an actual serious thing will happen. Maybe Harry has a heart attack that doesn't kill him just to set up the heart attack that's going to kill him in season 3. 2, maybe Harry has a heart attack that doesn't kill him just to set up the one that's going to kill him in season 2. My notes said season 3. Scripting elf, you've never been a problem before. Or maybe Seth has an accident of some kind. But basically, something serious happens and Leah is crying and stressed and Sam visibly doesn't know what to do about it. It's not made a big deal even then though, because it's still Leah, and Leah isn't passively waiting for him to embrace or comfort her. She starts crying and she wraps her arms around him like he's a teddy bear. She needs comfort, she'll go and get comfort. Despite the fact that Sam himself happens not to be good at meeting people's emotional needs, Leah is still getting roughly what she needs emotionally from him just by being her assertive self. It's a way that they're well suited to each other. We're setting up two things with this characterization of Sam. For one thing, we're making it clear ahead of time that his disengaging from Leah after imprinting on Emily, his inability to deal with the pain that he's caused Leah, is completely in character for him. Two, we're going to demonstrate the idea that imprinting somewhat molds a person by having Sam be very emotionally present for Emily after he imprints on her. The implications of the imprint being able to fundamentally change a person are pretty creepy, and I'm not fully going that route, but I am maintaining the idea that the imprint will cause people to change, at least behaviorally, to suit the needs of their imprint. I think that's what Stephanie Meyer actually meant and implied to be the case, but I feel like I could also point to textual evidence of both possibilities. Like, Paul imprinted on Jacob's sister, and he was acting like a menace around their house afterward, and I don't imagine that I'm to understand that that's what Rebecca/Rachel wanted from him. I would obviously take that as a sign of base personality still being in play, but I'm not gonna act like Quil doesn't behave a little bit like a hollowed out babysitting drone after he imprints on Claire. That said, Quil is still capable of annoying Claire by paying attention to other stuff when she wants his attention. And if he was fully impersoned by imprinting, one would imagine he wouldn't be able to do that. Presumably, he would have stopped ever not paying attention to her by now. Focusing back on Sam, though, he was unable to fully interact with vulnerability before, which made him a good fit for Leah, who didn't need him to show initiative in order to feel comforted by him. But Emily does need Sam to show initiative when she's feeling emotional. Emily isn't someone who will pull him over for a hug. She is someone who will just go and curl up and feel miserable by herself. So she needs Sam to make the decision to approach her, to hug her, to tell her everything's going to be fine, genuinely make himself emotionally accessible to her. And because Emily needs that, Sam does it. We can have direct comparison of how Sam was with Leah and how he is with Emily in that scene I mentioned earlier, the panic attack scene with the wolf mind meld. Canonically, Sam was raised by a single mother because his father abandoned them. For this, I like to imagine that his mother's behavior and general vibes were similar to Leah, in that she came across as tough and not requiring of emotional support. So I'm gonna say that Sam's mom likes Leah more than she likes Emily, just socially. They knew each other longer. Sam and Leah were dating for a while, and Sam's mom got to really like Leah. But I'm also going to have Sam's mom say pretty callously to Leah that she's never seen Sam so happy when he's with Emily. In a social situation, Sam's mom and Leah, Sam's mom has a name. Is it Allison? I'm not gonna go to the wiki. In a social situation, Sam's mom and Leah joke around with each other, they get along really well, they have a good rapport, but also Sam's mom observes aloud that Sam has never been as happy as he is now that he's with Emily. Imprinting does have a huge impact on a person's happiness. Instead of being a full human being with the need to self-actualize who just happens to be in a relationship, he is now a human being whose relationship is his self-actualization. It's not supposed to be how it works, but sorry, it is. When he's with Emily, he's basically glowing at all times now, and that just kind of wasn't the case with Leah. They were normal happy. They weren't magic supernatural happy. I promise I'm not making Sam's mom a major character. Like, she can appear like 4 times tops in the entire series. I feel like I have a lot of characters in play, and it's making me self-conscious because I still do have an OC section. Fortunately, I can console myself that none of this is real, unless a very wealthy twihard pays me an incredible sum of money. Honestly, buy my parents one beach house. They've been asking for a beach house for a while. Sam's interiority likewise isn't too much of a priority for me since we have so many characters bouncing around. In season 5 and onward, when he's one of the 3 leaders and representatives of the werewolves, alongside Leah and Jacob, I bit my tongue. Alongside Leah and Jacob, he's the one of them who stays quiet for long stretches of time and just listens to the discourse taking place between Leah, Jacob, and the Volturi. He listens for a while and then he interjects with everything he's observed about the conversation and what compromises can be made from it. Like, the wolves are talking to the Volturi heads, and Leah is the one who will cut through any placations and flattery that tries to happen, and she gets right down to brass tacks. Maybe Aro is like, "Wouldn't you wolves be happier if we gave you a position among the guard?" I made him vaguely southern, and that's not right. He's Italian. Don't do Mario. 1 second. "Oh, wouldn't you wolves be happier if we gave you a position among the..." That's Russian! Okay, an accent is going to come out of my mouth now, and you have to resign yourself to it not being the right one. Okay, let's do this. Wouldn't you wolves be happier if we gave you a position among the guard? And Leah is like, "You don't see us as your equals." That's Leah's zone. She's just cutting through it. She's pushing. Jacob is the one who's honestly taking on the role of resident vampire expert, as he's the only one of the 3 wolves who's able to cite past decisions the Volturi has made because he's been around the Cullens a lot and he's a good listener. So Jacob is the one who's able to say, "You let Eliezer leave voluntarily. You let Carlisle leave voluntarily. Why is our independence as a pack not being treated with the same respect you show their covens?" That's just an example. It's not a real conversation necessarily. So basically, while Leah handles the hard-hitting and getting to the point journalist stuff, if you will, and Jacob handles the vampire lore or librarian stuff if you think about it, he's tapping into Bella's zone while she's absent. Sam is the one who's listening for a while and then saying, "You want this, we want that. You don't want this, we don't want that. Is there a way we can get this without getting that?" It's not an everybody falls silent, stare at him in shock and awe for his wisdom kind of thing. It's just a part of the conversation. It's just a normal part of the conversation, is that every now and then he'll jump in like, "Hey, here's my little summary. Here's Sam's notes." The conversation continues as normal after that, but that's his role in it, to listen and piece things together as he goes. I'm also going to say that when the decision was made that the imprints, the people who the wolves imprinted on, were going to all hide out with the vampires at Renee's place, Sam was a voice of opposition for that. Maybe not the loudest voice, because I imagine that Jared and Paul were the more vociferous defectors. Nope. Detractors, that's the word. I imagine that Jared and Paul were probably the more vociferous detractors, but Sam is reluctant to entrust the Cullens with his heart. I'm thinking while Jared and Paul are the ones who will be loudly going, "We're supposed to leave our imprints with those bloodsuckers? Heck no," is what they said. Sam is just kind of Kubrick staring in the corner, not really saying anything. And then after that conversation, when it has been agreed that the imprints are going to stay with the Cullens at Renee's place, Sam maybe goes up to Bella or Edward, and he's basically like, "If anything happens to any of our imprints, I will hunt you down to the ends of the earth, and I will not rest until you and everyone you love is dead." Maybe a lighter version of that, but that's the gist. It adds stakes for if any of the imprints are in danger. Oh, also I like playing with the idea that he genuinely does still love Leah, but it'll only come out in moments where she's in danger. So when the Volturi abducts Leah, Sam will be devastated. He'll be extremely anxious. He'll honestly be kind of scary. Jacob will be the one who's like, "Hey, hey, we're gonna get her back, calm down. If we lose our heads now, then we'll never get her back. Like, he's doing the Dochi thing. One second, how's it? I ain't a killer, but don't push me. Don't wanna have to turn nobody guts in the soup beans. All right, Dochi, we don't want to revert back to our old ways, so let's try a breathing exercise, okay? Boy, that's getting cut out of the video. Sam will be terrified to tell Seth that they lost Leah. And when they do, Seth's feelings of betrayal will mostly be expressed in Sam's direction. Like, Seth's been pretty nice to Sam in the past, all things considered, but now it is nothing but low blows. A lot of, you don't even care about Leah ever since you imprinted, and maybe a little bit of, you don't care about me, because Seth and Sam were pretty close when Leah and Sam were dating. Sam cut him off when he cut Leah off, and then Seth's dad died right after. Like, a lot of feelings are gonna be getting blurry in that zone. Don't think that I'm contradicting myself, because I know that I did say that the Wolves were scouting out Seth pre-Harry dying and post-Sam breaking up with Leah, so you're probably thinking, wait, if Sam was scouting out Seth for the Wolf Pack, then how could he have also cut Seth off? Well, Jared and Paul can have been the ones. Why am I acting upset? I'm not upset. You guys are fine. I don't want you to think that I'm mad at you guys. I'm just kind of in a room and I'm expressing myself. It's fine. My thought is that Jared and Paul were probably the ones who are more being deployed in Seth's direction, while Sam kept his distance more. Something like that. But anyway, that's the end of the Sam section. Sam says, move on. I could have referenced Sam says during the alpha voice section.
Sam says, say something, we'll have to bleep.
We're talking about Quil. Okay, so in Twilight canon, Quil's one of the werewolves, and he's one of Jacob's close friends. In the books and in the movies, when Jacob and Bella are working on the motorcycles, and she meets some of Jacob's friends, the friends that she meets are Quil and Embry. So Quil and Embry are some of Jacob's best friends. I suppose the main thing to know about Quil is the Claire thing. I'm gonna stop being coy about this now. So in the books, Quil imprints on a 2-year-old girl named Claire. I'm gonna actually, hey, you know what I'm gonna do? I'm going to put some kind of graphic on the screen, maybe, for the entire length of the Quil section. So if you need to mute the Quil section, actually it's gonna have timestamps. Like, there's timestamps, there's gonna be chapters. If you are someone for whom the trigger warnings at the beginning of the video were relevant, I would understand if you skipped the Quil section. Nothing graphic happens in the books, obviously, and nothing even is implied to happen, but just the fact that Quil did imprint on a 2-year-old, and so much emphasis is given to the idea that now that he's imprinted on the 2-year-old, he can't find people his age attractive anymore. Like, okay, it doesn't say that let's be super clear. He's not attracted to Claire the 2-year-old, canonically. I'm not putting that on Stephenie Meyer. What I am putting on Stephenie Meyer is the fact that canonically, he is, I believe the phrase Jacob used was like, condemned to monkitude or something like that, but basically it is canonically the case that he is celibate until Claire becomes an adult, the implications of which are bad. I mean, even if the age gap wasn't a factor, the fact that he's babysitting her with the understanding of like, it's bad. I can't stress enough how many problems would have been avoided if Stephenie Meyer had just said or even implied that Quil is still dating people his own age while having imprinted on Claire. It would have completely, oh boy, but no, canonically, he's not seeing anyone until like, it's the implications are that he's waiting. It's the child grooming thing, basically. It's not quite the same child grooming thing that it is with Jacob and Renesmee in the books, because in the books, Renesmee grows at an accelerated rate and isn't human and has like the intelligence of an older human or older person than she is. So there's a lot of asterisks put on it for Renesmee and Jacob, whereas with Quil and Claire, Claire is a regular human 2-year-old. There are no asterisks, it's just a 2-year-old. It's bad for Jacob and Renesmee, and I would say it's worse for Claire and Quil. I've already established, though, that in this show, imprinting is not romantic, so we don't have to worry about that aspect of it. There is a way that I'm tempted to approach this, like just as far as emotional storytelling, that would be, first of all, it would be very emotional storytelling and it would be a very raw story, but for that reason, it would be way too intense and serious for a show of this kind. Like, the title of this whole thing I'm doing is how I would reboot the Twilight books into a TV series, so it seems like I shouldn't do anything too intense, right? Having said that, though, it seems like I should explain what I mean. So what I'm going to do is, somewhere on this screen right now is a symbol or graphic of some kind to indicate that I am talking about a sensitive subject. As long as it's on the screen, I will be talking about the subject. And when it leaves the screen, I will no longer be talking about the subject. It's not going to be anything super graphic. It's just going to be a little more serious than the rest of the concepts at play here. So what I could see as a character detail for Quil is the idea that perhaps he was a victim of some kind of inappropriate behavior towards him when he was a child, and as a result feels an immediate panic as soon as he imprints on Claire. Like, the idea of imprinting on Claire scares him very specifically because of that. It's not necessary, it's just something that could be the case. I think that the Shadowhunters show might do something like that. Cassandra Clare will do a taboo. If I could say anything about Cassandra Clare, she'll do a taboo if she feels like it. Basically, that would be a means of immediately making Quil's situation come across as much more sympathetic than it ever did in the books, because in the books we never see anyone except Bella react with the, I would say, necessary amount of worry, concern, and alarm to the idea of Quil imprinting on a 2-year-old. We're to assume that some amount of reaction happened off screen before they understood the nature of the imprint, regardless of whether I include that character detail,
By which I mean the character detail that I proposed making up for Quil.
which I'm not. His reaction to imprinting on Claire is going to be very horrified and ashamed. He's not a main character, so this isn't going to get a ton of on-screen focus, thank goodness, but we'll have lines like, "Oh, Quil is still locking himself in his house. He thinks he's dangerous." This paints the whole situation much more sympathetically for everyone involved. The way it was handled in the books was a bad look in a lot of ways, but I'm not going into it right now. Once again, can't emphasize this enough, imprinting isn't romantic. Being away from one's imprint is really bad for a werewolf's mental health. And plus, Quil still does have responsibilities as a werewolf and member of the pack to help out with, protecting the community. This requires him to sometimes be in wolf form among the other wolves, a thing which avails everyone of his bad mental health. Everyone's just kind of experiencing Quil's deteriorating emotional state with him. The specific scenario that's going to reassure Quil that his imprint on Claire isn't something creepy doesn't need to be covered on screen. Quil as a character has the unfortunate responsibility to establish ahead of time that imprinting on someone younger than yourself is a thing and isn't bad before Jacob does it. That was really what Meyer had him there for, was just to throw him in front of the bullets before she had Jake imprint on Renesmee. We're having Quil take the heat for a little bit, and once we've gotten the audience used to the idea that it's okay to imprint on kids, gosh, Stephanie, that's when we let them know that Jacob did it too. And likewise here, Quil's job is still to kind of get ahead of things and say, okay, he imprinted on Claire the 2-year-old, it's not romantic, it never will be romantic, he is babysitting, and he has a significant other his own age somewhere.
Or of course he can be aromantic. I don't know why I didn't mention that while I recorded the first time, but obviously he could be aromantic, and that is an equally valid option, and it could be very cool.
Maybe it's Angela, who cares? No, I have Angela dating Lauren. Maybe it's Embry. No, stop developing, move on. Does Quil have anything else going on besides momentarily being scared that he might be dangerous to children? It'd be great if he did. Maybe he's also gifted in some way. It's kind of annoying that only the vampires get special powers and the wolves get nothing, so maybe Quil has some special ability. Ooh! Stop. Okay, calm down. I mentioned in one of the other videos that the reason the werewolves are werewolves at all is just because one of their predecessors happened to choose wolf as their thing. He was casting his spirit out and he just happened to put it in a wolf, so they could have been were anything. Maybe Quil is gonna be the first of the werewolves to be something else. Like he becomes a werebird for convenience. I'm picturing a scene where Quil is in mortal danger and everyone, including the audience, thinks that Quil's about to die, but then instead he puts his consciousness into a bird and he flies away. Maybe not. I don't know. It just feels mean to only give Quil the little scare there. No, don't get tangled. You have so much to live for. Okay, Embry. Embry is Jacob's other friend. Sorry, I'm not doing last names, am I? Quil Ateara Embry Call. Sorry. Embry is Jacob's other friend. The main thing that's special about him in the books is that, like, no one knows who his dad is. And that's a whole drama thing because the werewolf trait is passed through the bloodline. His mom isn't from here. They don't know who his dad is. So why is he a werewolf? And the subtext of that is, hey, his dad is either Jacob's dad, Quil's grandpa or dad? No, wait, or Sam's dad. Something like that. Basically, oh no, who's his dad? One of our dads cheated on our mom. And that's something that is uncomfortable for us to think about. Despite having just said that's kind of the only thing about him in the books, like, he's nice, he's funny, all the wolves are kind of just like nice and funny when Bella's around, they're just like, ha ha ha, new girl. Despite having just said that that's kind of his only thing, I do think I'm going to excise the whole parentage issue from the show. Let's be clear, the whole broken family thing is actually, I would say, maybe the one potentially racist trope that I think Stephenie Meyer might be off the hook for, mainly because main character Bella Swan, implied to be white, came with divorced parents and a history of being neglected as a child. I will say a suspicious number of the werewolves do come from parents who were either widowed of their partner or left by their partner. But I'm willing to let Meyer slide on the Bella defense there. Note, I'm willing to let Meyer slide. I'm not an authority on how other people should feel about it or react to it, especially people who are of American Indigenous descent. But still, the little pack drama of which of our dads cheated to make Embry happen, it's not going to be in play here. It wasn't really an element of the plot, it doesn't drive anything, it doesn't interest me, and I don't see a way that I can use it that would interest me, so I'm just kind of chucking it. Just for your own personal edification, the illustrated guide does include Embry on the Uley family tree, indicating that Sam is the one who has Embry as a half-brother, which seems like it should be, like, the least of a problem. I guess I wouldn't know, but I don't think Sam should care that his absentee father also fathered a different guy. That's just my 2 cents, and we don't even have discrete coinage for that. That's my tuppence. Feed the birds, tuppence a bag. My voice is bad because I've been talking for a really long time now. Anyway, so yeah, Embry is Sam's half-brother, and I could just have them already know that about each other in the show, but I don't think that really interests me either. Maybe because the brotherhood of the wolf pack is already such a great concept that I don't think making more of them biologically related is a particularly fun way to play with that. Like, I enjoy that they're not all blood siblings, but they act like siblings. I like that Emily says, save some for your brothers, just very casually, because they're brothers. That's just where I'm at with it. I mentioned in a previous video that we could have a plot line where Emmett and one of the werewolves become friends, and I think if I do have that be a plot line, then Embry's going to be the wolf in question. Shoot, their names are too similar. Oh no, imagine trying to do a ship name for them. Emmett and Embry. Even their surnames are too similar. I guess as a collective, they'd either be M's, like the plural of M, just M's, they're 2 M's. Maybe M&M's, like E-M ampersand E-M could be that. Or McCall, because Emmett's human surname was McCarthy, and Embry's surname is Call, so McCall could be something. I'm not shipping them, it's just, I feel like if you're gonna pair up 2 characters in any capacity, platonic or romantic, or whatever, you should have in your head some idea of what the ship name is gonna be, and if it's a bad one, you gotta find a way to like, if I couldn't come up with McCall, I would need to have an in-canon thing that they do that would make a reasonable ship name. Like, if they both liked doing hopscotch, they could be hopscotch bros or something. I don't know. Connor and Evan and Dear Evan Hansen are tree bros, and they don't even relate about oh wait, no, because Connor smokes weed. I get it. So yeah, basically I have removed the one thing that was special about Embry, and I have instead made him friends with Emmett. We're good, right? We're cool with that?
Anybody got a problem with that?
I already kind of put Jacob and Seth in the role of being positive and social and stuff. Personality-wise, I think Embry is going to have like a more mocking sense of humor than the other wolves do. I think in the movies that was more Jared. Jared was doing a lot of jokey jokes in the movies. Of the wolves, Embry is going to have the most irreverent sense of humor, which kind of contributes to why he's able to befriend a vampire. It's just like, who cares? I'm imagining a scene where some of the wolves are like, we're not friends of vampires, and vampires aren't friends of ours. And Embry's just like, Emmett's cool. And everyone's like, shut up, Embry. Oh, he's like Carlos. He's the Carlos. Not Carlos from Descendants, but Carlos from Magic School Bus. Embry.
Carlos!
That's gonna make it all the cooler though when situations are serious and he gets serious. He's like, okay, I'm locked in. Like when stuff is serious and he actually has to be protecting his friends and family and stuff, he locks in, he gets serious when he needs to. I like that. Next up is Paul! In canon, Paul has two things. The first thing is that he has a temper. Notably, like when Bella showed up among the wolves for the first time, Paul got so mad, he'd like immediately phased, Jacob had to fight him, everyone else was like, yeah, it's standard wolf stuff, but Bella was freaking out because she thought Jacob was about to be murdered. So yeah, Paul, number one, has a temper. Number two, he, in book 4, imprints on one of Jacob's sisters. We don't really see either of Jacob's sisters pretty much at all, so this doesn't matter. It's just a thing for Jacob to be annoyed about in the time between Bella's wedding to Edward and Jacob going to find out that she's pregnant.
Hi, it's me, the editing elf. So actually, having looked over this section, I think I have different ideas for Paul than the ones I expressed here. I'm still going to show parts of my original plan, but I will also be cutting in with my current thoughts.
Okay, so I know that I've been doing a lot of moderating the worst traits of these characters, but rest assured I'm not doing very much of that here. Paul's role in the books is to be an ill-tempered jerk. While I'm sure that won't be his only trait in the show, we're gonna have some of that in there.
Having thought about it further, I like the idea of Paul's nuance being that he's sometimes completely justified in being upset about stuff. Like that initial episode with Bella where he's mad at Jacob for exposing the secret. Yeah, I mean, don't get violent about it, but yeah, it makes sense to be mad that the newest person to join your very closed and culturally specific club has more or less immediately told this random white girl who he has a crush on. Not even his white girlfriend, just a white girl who he has a crush on, whose last boyfriend was a vampire. Again, Paul isn't being nice in the situation, but there's some basis for his frustration, and it's not like anyone actually got hurt. So what the show can do is kind of emphasize that Paul isn't wrong for being mad about certain things. Minorities' anger shouldn't be treated as a thing that makes them stupid and bestial. Maybe in the show's equivalent scene where Paul gets mad about Jacob hinting to Bella about the wolf secret, we can arrange things so that Paul actually keeps his temper. He's angry, and he's expressing his anger aloud with words because he's been a wolf for a while now, and he's been a hot-tempered person for even longer, so he knows how to avoid phasing. He's getting mean, he's getting loud, but he's not becoming a wolf. In that scene, we're going to make Jacob the one who goes into wolf form out of anger at what Paul is saying, and Paul goes into wolf form to basically subdue Jacob. This has the added benefit of illustrating the wolf temper thing for Bella. If Paul, a guy we don't know, bursts into wolf form out of rage, we have learned nothing of import about werewolves. If Jacob, a guy we've met and gotten to know as a socially and emotionally intelligent guy, bursts into wolf form out of rage, we have learned something about werewolves. And this illustrates the disparity between someone who's new to being a werewolf and someone who has gotten the hang of it, which ties into the uniform thing that I mentioned in part 1. All of that said, I'm also going to have Paul be one of the people who's rudest to Leah. So while he's justified in being mad about the way the Bella situation shaped up, and he's demonstrated to have the amount of self-control you would expect from one of his generation's first werewolves, we're also going to see that he's the main one hassling Leah when Leah is having trouble with the other pack members. So Paul is still the worst, he's just not always wrong.
It's valuable to have some characters kicking around who are uncomplicatedly just kind of the worst, and Paul can be that for us. From the Cullen section, Jasper is a little bit of that also. I think that maybe to offset that a little, first of all, we're going to show him actually with Jacob's sister, who he imprinted on. Whether that's Rebecca or Rachel, I simply can't care, but I am gonna Google it. Like, instead of just seeing him at Jacob's house eating his Doritos and putting his feet on the table or whatever he was doing, we're going to actually see him with Rebecca/Rachel to get a kind of read on what they're like together. And I'm going to say that Paul's vibes towards Rachel are jarringly subby. Like, we know Paul as the angry guy who just kind of annoys everyone all the time and is the worst. And we see him around Rachel and he's just like, whatever you say, honey. Oh no, I don't want that to be an imprinting changes people thing. I just want that to be what he's like in relationships.
I think one way to neatly distinguish this as a matter of Paul just being very soft with whoever he's dating and not Paul's personality changing as a result of the imprint would be to have Paul be already dating someone before imprinting on Rachel. It can be kind of a parallel to Leah's situation. After Sam imprints on Emily, Paul sees the writing on the wall and carefully breaks up with his girlfriend to avoid breaking her heart the way Sam broke Leah's heart. At this point, they have not yet learned that imprinting isn't inherently romantic. This can also be a reason he's so mad at Jacob, because like a lot of us have made sacrifices to protect the wolf secret, and it's very selfish that you haven't been able to do the same. Weirdly, this also informs his dislike for Leah when she joins the pack, because he's so rationalized his and Sam's parting from their girlfriends as this noble sacrifice they've made for the sake of the pack and the tribe, and the idea that Leah can now fully understand why they did what they did and isn't falling over herself like, I had no idea what a sacrifice you made. The fact that she can understand and still be angry really threatens the rationalizations he's been making. To be clear, he's not in the wrong for breaking it off with his old girlfriend, and he had good motivations for doing it, but because he really liked her and really regrets not being able to keep dating her and not feeling able to explain why, he staked a lot of emotional weight on this idea that if their ex-girlfriends only knew how heroic they were being, they'd feel sorry for ever doubting their love or whatever, and Leah doesn't react that way. Also, just a heads up, the stuff the Amity Elf is about to say about Paul and Rachel's relationship is largely about to be revoked by the editing elf. I'm still going to show it though, so you get a sense of my thought process.
Like a Harry Hook situation. When you see Harry Hook anywhere else, he's being a menace and stuff, but then you see him with Uma and he's on his knees all the time. If there's any gathering where the pack and their imprints are in the same space for any length of time, like maybe it's a council meeting of some kind, whatever the case, at those kinds of gatherings, if Paul starts to get into it with anybody else, Rachel/Rebecca just has to be like, and he'll knock it off. Honestly, maybe not finger snaps. Maybe that's a little too demeaning. I like it, but maybe it's a little too demeaning. Maybe she's like, inside voices! Now I'm making her parent him. Now I'm making her his mom. Oh no. Now I'm just characterizing Paul the way I wish my cat would behave, where I wish that if I snap my fingers, my cat would stop doing the thing that she's doing. But instead she just pauses and glances over and is like, oh, you're just doing that finger snap thing you do when you want me to stop. I understand. Anyway, back to it. Paul isn't a pet. Should I give him more dignity? I don't want to. Maybe I'm gonna move away from the direction I was going just now, where he's so subby that it gets to pet play territory, and instead make it just that he's kind of sappy. You know, like he's leaning his head on her shoulder, and instead of it being a situation where he gets into it with somebody and she snaps her fingers and stops him, it's instead a situation where, like, he's not getting into it with people when she's around because he's so focused on her. His head is on her shoulder. He's, like, simply checked out. No one can possibly get to him when she's around. There. She's Scarlet Witch now. Not Scarlet. Gosh darn it. She's Natasha Romanoff now, saying, hey, big guy, the sun's getting real low.
Okay, so like I said, I'm revoking a lot of that. What I will instead say is that Rachel gets a temper too. In their neutral state, we will keep the idea that Paul is very soft for Rachel and will rest his head on her shoulder and luxuriate in her presence, but when something sets one of them off, they're both tagged into the argument. What this does is, and this is going to sound very clinical, optimizes Paul so that his unjustified resentment for Leah is no longer getting expressed, or at least not as much, but his justified anger for important stuff is getting amplified because now he's got a girlfriend who feels just as strongly about this stuff as he does. Oftentimes she'll be the one to go, what did this person just say? Before Paul reacts, and then they're both in it.
But yeah, I think that's enough for Paul. Last up, we have Jared. Now, you may be thinking, the Amity Elf, last up? There's other wolves who phased after that group. Why, there's Colin, and there's Brady? Yeah, there's Colin, there's Brady. I feel like there was a Nathan at some point. Am I making that up? Okay, there is not a Nathan. Either I made that up, or that was in a fan fiction. Either of which would be humiliating. So I have said last up, which may cause you to think, wow, you're missing the opportunity to characterize the very, very minor no-lines werewolves that also existed in the pack, like Colin and Brady. That doesn't sound like you. Why would you make OCs when you have some named characters who don't do anything in the background? Well, I'm comfortable with letting Colin and Brady just kind of keep existing in the background. Maybe I'll give them some lines, kick a few lines their way, but I don't think that they're going to be important enough to warrant sections in this video. Unless I give one of them a special power. But yeah, we're leaving the important wolf pack members at the ones I've already listed. There's other members of the pack, but they're like kind of extras. They just kind of hang around in the background. But yeah, last up is Jared. In canon, Jared doesn't do much on his own. The main moment where he as a singular entity had any amount of focus was after Jacob's pack had already split off from Sam's pack. There was a point where Jared was sent out to appeal to them verbally, like, hey, Sam wants you guys home, why don't you come back here, etc. To the point of even emotionally manipulating Leah by using Sam's nickname for her. The exact line I do remember was, He wants you home, Lily, where you belong. Had the nerve to not only manipulatively invoke the idea that Sam wants her back as a kind of like, oh no, what? He wants you back, so why don't you come back? I know you still have feelings for him. To try to manipulate her. Not only that, but also going so far as to use his nickname for her. Simply terrible, cruel behavior. And you know what? I think that moment's gonna play even better when 1, Leah's the alpha of the pack, which makes that axis of attack seem even more warranted, and 2, we'll have seen in season 1 Sam use that nickname for her. So it's not just some parenthetical Jacob says, oh, that's what Sam used to call her. We'll have seen it, we'll know it, and we'll be like, oh no, not Lily, that's terrible. But anyway, that was one thing Jared did, and that's pretty much the only thing Jared did. Like in New Moon, he also told Bella not to stare at Emily's scars, which, by the way, we're not going to have happen because we're going to have it be reasonably assumed that she's not going to gape in horror at a disfigured person. We're going to treat Emily's face 100% matter-of-factly. We're not going to have the camera linger on it like, whoa. It's just part of her face. It's just what her face looks like. It's okay. The other thing about Jared is that he has an imprint named Kim, who was one of his classmates who had a crush on him before he became a wolf. So it's kind of a wish come true for her. One day her school crush lays eyes on her and is like, whoa. I believe Bella specifically describes Kim as very plain looking and like not very pretty. Something like that. Bella's very judgmental. So it's a dream come true for this girl. She had a crush on this guy at school and she wasn't very impressive looking, but then one day he went to school and he looked at her and he was like, whoa, who's that? I mean, it's creepy from a supernatural perspective, but it's great for Kim. As you may have noticed from my earlier he went to Jared joke, I'm taking that scene where Jared tries to tempt Leah back over to Sam's side by using their pre-existing relationship, and I'm going to turn that into a pattern in which Jared is just really in it somehow. First of all, while Jared was one of the first wolves to turn after Sam, I'm gonna also have it be the case that Jared was one of Sam's closest friends before the fact too. Like, he's one of Sam's best friends. When Sam and Leah were together, Jared was often visiting them at the apartment they shared. When Sam left Leah, Jared pretty callously ceased to be a friend to her and became instead more of a go-between for Sam. Sam found it too painful to be around her and see how badly he'd hurt her with the choices he made after imprinting, so he would send Jared to carry messages and ask for stuff and whatnot. Jared is a very good and loyal friend to Sam, often at Leah's expense. He's often the character who is telling Leah to stop thinking about things that hurt Sam and to let things go and to get used to Sam being with Emily. For this reason, the audience's experience of Jared is often going to be negative. That said, like in Twilight canon, he's pretty nice to Bella. I think the most interesting thing about Jared is the whole Kim thing. A separate Twilight book is happening from Kim's perspective. Oh, who will tie my shoe? And who will glove my hand? I'm gonna be doing a similar thing with Jared as I do with Paul, which is I'm going to absolutely and unabashedly cave to the classic YA, or honestly not even YA, but romance trope of guy who kind of sucks, but he's really nice to his girlfriend. The main redeeming element of Jared is that he is so nice and loving to Kim, but it's imprinting, so it almost doesn't count because, like, yeah, man, it's kind of imperative. You kind of can't not be. Am I making this less fun by acknowledging that? We're gonna get more into it in the... Oh no, I should have been... Oh wait! I said in the doggone... Oh. I was about to say that we can go over each of the imprints as characters in the human section, but then I remembered, oh no, I had the human section already, in which I said that I was going to go over the imprints in the wolf section, so now I am missing the imprints. Should I make peace with the idea that I need another day of filming? I can get another day of filming in, sure. That's gonna be Emily. I don't think Claire needs one. So I'm gonna have to do Emily, Rebecca, Rachel, Kim, not Claire, because who cares? Is that it?
Hi guys! Since I have a video about Interview with the Vampire coming up and I'd like to have that edited and posted before season 3 is done, I've decided I'll leave the imprint section for the compilation of the wolf videos, so when I post my video combining parts 1 and 2 of the werewolves video, that will have the imprint section. I have filmed it, I just don't want to take more time editing right now, so you have that to look forward to. Also, since all of these were supposed to be one video, I also don't have an outro for this one, so take care of yourselves, be kind to one another, and have a great day.
Well, no, this look isn't especially well suited to the video at hand, but I was just trying something out, wasn't I? Let's get the... Okay, didn't knock over the doll. Let's... Almost pinched myself on the interior of the parasol. I look injured, like having the... One second. Let's get that. Let's get that back. Oh, I'm just gonna put the... Hey, I'm just gonna put the jacket on correctly and see what that does for me. I'm gonna make the viewer seasick. It occurs to me that this is the jacket I wore to do my part of the Despair Girls musical. Argue about abortion in the comments. I'm gonna stop now. Tuppence, tuppence, tuppence a bag. Feed the birds, that's what she cries, while overhead her birds fill the skies. All around the cathedral, the saints and apostles look down as she sells her wares. Although you can't see it, you know they are smiling each time someone shows that he cares. Though her words are simple and few, listen, listen, she's calling to you. Feed the birds, tuppence a bag. Feed the birds, tuppence a bag. Tuppence, tuppence, tuppence a bag.